everybody. Oh, well, that is loud. Nice. I am Hudson Jameson from the Aetherium Foundation, and I'm pleased to, thank you. I am pleased today to present these awesome panelists for the panel, Bake Me a Layer Cake, a Layer 2 Adventure. I added that last part on, but I think that's a good complete name for what we're going to be talking about today, which is some Layer 2 technologies, what they're all about, and how different ones compare in the ecosystem and in the community. So let's get started. Go ahead and one by one give us your name, where you work, and just like a little bit about yourself.
Hello, I'm Jack O'Halloran with the Skale network. Skale is a blockchain scaling network that provides smart contract execution and file storage and essentially Ethereum as a service to dApps building on Ethereum. I've been doing tech startups for a long time and really happy to be here today. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Billy Rennekamp. I'm a Capricorn. My favorite color is blue. I'm a developer relations engineer with Tendermint and Cosmos. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Gilles Fedec. I'm CEO and co-founder of iExec. We're doing decentralized cloud computing. And before that, I was researcher at INRIA, which is a main place in Europe for doing research in computer science.
Hi, my name is Andrew. I am a senior partnership manager at Chainlink. I like long walks on the beach and cuddling with my dog.
Hi. You might have to turn it on. Is there a switcher?
Hi, I'm Mo from Celer, and we're a layer 2 scaling platform tries to unify different layer 2 scaling technologies. And right now we're focusing on state channel networks, and we just launched the mainnet upgrade for the world first generalized state channel multi-hop network. And we have cool t-shirts. So if you're interested in dabbing unicorn t-shirts, find us in our booth.
Awesome, thank you all. So you all mentioned your projects, and some of them, or really all of them, are pretty well known in the Ethereum ecosystem, from Chainlink to Celer, everybody else. In like just a couple of sentences or less than a paragraph, what does your project solve as far as what the goal is and how it helps developers?
Yeah, great question. So I would say the main goal of the Skale network is to help solve the user experience problem for both developers and the end users of decentralized applications, so that things work faster, smoother, better, and in a less expensive manner.
I would say that we help build and scale application-specific blockchains.
Yeah, can you hear me? Okay. So we're providing solution for doing off-chain computing, end-to-end privacy-preserving off-chain computing. So we are addressing actually 3 issues with respect to blockchain: scalability, privacy, and also connectivity.
I'd say that Chainlink allows for externally connected smart contracts to be end-to-end secure and reliable by allowing for decentralization at the data provider level and the Oracle node operator level. And Ethereum, of course, provides the decentralization at the blockchain level.
Celer aims to build a layer 2 scaling platform that allows internet scale adoption and mass adoption because we allow the developers to build a real-time interactive application with extremely low cost for the dApp developers.
Great. So I'm going to go to just someone random for this. Let's go Mo. And my question is, so there's a lot of UX challenges when it comes to some of these solutions that you guys have just described. What's like the biggest or most complicated challenge that you've faced within your project from a UX perspective?
So I think the UX, so first of all, the UX problem, the biggest thing we realize that is there are 2 layers of UX problem. The first layer of the UX problem is the blockchain UX problem. Basically, trying to make a blockchain easier to use or layer 2 easier to use for blockchain users. And then there's a second layer on top of that, that is trying to make the blockchain technology in general, including all the layer 2 scaling technology, easier to use and easier to adopt by normal users who have no idea about blockchain, what blockchain is. And we find out that closing that gap is the actual very challenging part, to hide away not only the blockchain, but also the layer 2 on top of it. Sometimes when we're building layer 2, we're effectively adding a layer of indirection on top of layer 1, and that inherently may incur additional user experience issues, especially on the onboarding process. So, we actually tried very hard to solve this by launching something called Celer X, which is a e-sport gaming application where a user can just download and play game. And we hide away the fact that they're using stable tokens like DAI to play the games in layer 2 state channels, but just tell them that, hey, there's this token, just like game token, you can buy with your debit card, $5, you get 5 token, and you can cash out later. But at the same time, we hide away the transaction fee from them by using meta transactions. And then whenever they want to withdraw and cash out, we then deduct the transaction fee away from them as kind of a withdrawal fee. So our approach to solve the UX problem is to kind of use familiar concept of existing internet application and kind of use that to present to the user without telling them too much about the blockchain. And we have been trying to do that, and we have been feeling that has been working pretty well to bridge the gap between the blockchain user experience versus the blockchain user experience for mass adoption.
That's really cool. Like, abstracting away the complicated layers and making them invisible is definitely something that I feel like I've seen time and time again, and like, it's getting easier. People are really stepping up with things like meta transactions, like you mentioned. Who else wants to answer this question about difficulties with UX? Anybody? You want to?
I think a key component here are API-based wallets. And so one of our approaches is to build seamless integrations for Skale into Fortmatic, Portis, Bitski, Taurus, MetaMask, other solutions. And ideally, completely obfuscate this whole, what's my RPC port, IP address. Like, the end user should just be able to use the application, authenticate in through the API wallet, and not even know they're using Skale in an ideal scenario. So that's what we're trying to do, and also make that not too difficult for the developer as well.
Great. Anyone else? Last person want to take it? Sure, Billy.
So something that's really nice when you're building a blockchain from the bottom up is that you kind of have control of every moving piece in that stack. So kind of out of the box, an SDK blockchain is similar to Ethereum, but you have the ability to modify certain things that can really improve the user experience. For instance, you can set up different accounts that have multiple keys attached to them, keys that can be replaced, keys that have certain privileges, like maybe one key can only spend $100 a day. So you're able to get all the sorts of features of a contract-based wallet. Another thing is that you can sort of build in authentication from OAuth providers like Google, because at the end of the day, it's just a Golang framework. It's much closer to building a Ruby on Rails app or something. You can utilize all this legacy tech and then just integrate it directly into the blockchain.
Great answer. Let me just throw another question out here. Got some written down. I came prepared. All right, as ETH 2.0 comes out, there's going to be a whole nother level of new Ethereum tech layers, new technologies that are just a whole different dynamic than Ethereum 1.0. How are you going to adjust to Ethereum 2.0 coming, or are you generalized enough that there's not much you have to do? Anyone want to take this?
So I don't think that, what we are doing is that we're providing dApps and infrastructures for them to execute. So I don't think that Ethereum 2.0 is going to change a lot with respect to what we offer. Those dApps will still be able to do off-chain computing. They will still be able, and we still need it. Many people will develop their dApps having stuff running on-chain and stuff running off-chain. They probably want to interoperate with any kind of legacy application. And so we are doing, we are building this bridge between the two worlds. So yeah, we are waiting for it too with a lot of impatience.
I think in a similar way, Chainlink's really excited for any kind of scaling solution because it really expands what developers can do with Chainlink, what developers can do with the space. There's a lot of these use cases. IoT is one example that I feel like we've been talking about for years and years, but because of the amount of API calls, because of the amount of data you need to get on chain, isn't going to be feasible until there are these real scaling solutions. So something like ETH 2.0 is going to be hugely important for folks building with Chainlink in that it's going to enable these potentially really revolutionary use cases that otherwise weren't economically feasible. Similarly, it's why we're excited about our integration with Arbitrum, the great folks over there, another scaling solution that allows for folks to handle a lot of the on-chain computation off-chain in a secure way. All this kind of stuff is really going to vastly broaden the horizon of what's possible and really enable some of this stuff that people have been excited about for a while but haven't actually been able to do.
All right, great. So I'm kind of wondering, with this whole new hot business of intra-blockchain, interconnected blockchains, Polkadot, Cosmos, stuff like that, what makes it important about your business to cater to different blockchains? What makes it important to embrace things other than Ethereum? Because we're at the Ethereum conference, and I haven't really seen a lot of maximalists, but that's something that they'd probably be wondering. What's the benefit here? So anyone can take this first.
Well, we're really excited about Ethereum. We're excited about ETH 2.0 as well. ETH 2.0 specifically because there will be block finality, so you can use IBC to communicate without a trusted third party like Peggy. But the idea behind Cosmos is really just to be plumbing inside of the internet of blockchains. And Ethereum has one space that has very specific and powerful features, massive security, tightly coupled composability, is a very valuable space for many applications. But obviously there's other features and other blockchains that might be useful in different ways. And the more blockchains that are connected to each other, the more shared liquidity that's possible, the more compounding composability that's possible. So we're really excited about every blockchain that's able to connect in any way. IBC obviously is our preferred method.
Excellent. Who else? Take it away.
A lot of the requests I'm seeing are within the Ethereum ecosystem. So Skale is entirely focused on interoperability within Ethereum, whether it be Ethereum mainnet to a Scale chain or Scale chain to Scale chain, or essentially let's let money flow freely and smoothly and with minimal UX issues within the Ethereum ecosystem. So I'm seeing it from that frame and seeing actually a lot of needs for interoperability and interchain messaging.
Cool. Anybody else?
So I think I just want to chime in here quickly. That is, if we look at how internet evolved, one thing internet did really well is the layered architecture. And the layered architecture allows each layer to have different technologies. You have different physical layers. You have different routing layers. Well, you don't have different routing layers, but you have different kind of transport layers and all that stuff. So from our point of view, layer 2 is an independent layer comparing to layer 1, and we're trying to help whatever layer 1 is becoming more and more popular and becoming more and more used. And of course, we have deep root in Ethereum community, and we have been building most of our stuff on Ethereum to this point. But we have been designing the entire layer 2 ecosystem as a relatively blockchain agnostic solution, so that we have the clean decouple between different layers to allow better evolution in the future.
Anybody else? Okay, so let's get another one out here. Ooh, this is a good one. So how would you describe the community around your projects? We're all going to look at one very prolific community, so we got to get an answer from you, Andrew. But how would you describe the community that's been built around your project, whether that be a subreddit, maybe a Discord, maybe people just, interacting and spreading the word? How would you describe your community?
Sure. The community with Chainlink obviously has a reputation. We're known for being extremely engaged. Some of the stuff that people might not know if they're not deeply involved in the community, though, is to what degree there's a lot of education that happens within it. I think it is one of the more technically informed communities out there. I think that our meetup program is a great example of the kind of passion that they have. This is a program, 30-plus cities across the globe. We're co-hosting with projects. We're trying to spread the word not just about Chainlink, but about smart contracts in general and what they can accomplish. The fact that we can have this kind of advocate program entirely on a volunteer basis, I don't think that's something that a lot of other projects can boast. And so, maybe a little bit of a reputation, but I suspect a lot of it is just a touch unearned.
All right, anybody else? Yeah, go right ahead.
Something that's really nice about the community around Cosmos is that it's sort of like a rising, what is the phrase? Rising water, all ships rise. Because the whole idea is that there should be many different blockchains that's sort of like an anti-fragile system. All of the sort of tooling that comes out benefits all of the other projects which are built in similar ways. Similar to like somebody makes a block explorer for an ERC20 token, every other ERC20 can use it at the same time. So this is like a block explorer for Geth is automatically being able to be used by all these different blockchains. And so you get a lot of projects which end up being useful all across the place and community members driving that.
Cool. Anybody else want to grab it?
Yeah, so this is maybe a point of view on the Ethereum community. So if you look at Scale, where the Scale network's actually built into Ethereum, there's a series of smart contracts that interact with the Scale nodes and the Scale network. And in the same way, I think the community operates. And really, our goal is just to support Ethereum developers. And I don't mean to just call out Scale there. I think there's a lot of projects like across the Ethereum ecosystem that really are Ethereum. And so it's very cool to see the way that we have this really amalgamation of teams and people from regions and areas and all kind of, again, working, the rising tide lifts all boats, right? And,
Thank you.
And we're all trying to make it happen, so it's pretty fun.
All right. Man, I should have written more questions. That's okay, I can get them from my noggin. So there's a lot of, like when you're doing just like a smart contract itself, there's a lot of people who are getting smart contract audits because of prolific, incidents like the DAO. What kind of precautions, whether it be audits or other forms like maybe formal verification, I don't know how far that goes into the layer 2 ecosystem, like what's being done on that really nerdy side to keep things safe?
Auditing the smart contracts is something we have been doing for a very long time actually. We released 4 versions of iExec, and each one of them have been audited by, for example, chain security and this kind of. There are people from ETFS Zurich in Europe, so I think their background is in formal verification. I don't know exactly if at the moment there are people actually doing formal verification. I think it's more sort of semantic analysis of the source code of the smart contract, trying to identify some of the potential weakness. We're also spending obviously a lot of time reviewing our own code. There's no magic here. I think it's experience and sometimes good luck, sometimes bad things happen. We all know that.
Cool. I'd say that I think one of the things that Chainlink really excels at is helping other projects mitigate some of their major security risks. What we see over and over again is that developers don't see the need or the value in a highly reliable, highly secure Oracle service, either until they get to some fantastic scale, they realize there's so much value being transacted in their contracts that they need greater security, or something bad happens. And so we have a good problem in that developers all eventually come to see our value proposition, just not always under great circumstances. We're really working to try and get in the door of young projects a little bit earlier, trying to make ourselves as easy to integrate as possible in order to remove these issues. But the way we see ourselves, of course, we audit all our code, but we see ourselves as a security layer for these other projects that want to get externally connected.
Well, anybody else?
Something that's kind of unique to our ecosystem, and I believe that we sort of started around last year, is this concept of an adversarial test network, where before we launched the Cosmos Hub, we had this project called Game of Stakes. And it was basically come participate in this test network and try to attack it. Try to bring it down, try to find flaws, do anything you can, and we'll pay you for that up front. So it creates this sort of like game atmosphere where people are incentivized to attack the network early on, fail early. So we're able to identify all those sorts of things. And we're about to start a similar thing for IBC called Game of Zones. So that'll be a test network of test networks, a bunch of them all trying to interoperate, talk to each other, and also attack each other. And any sort of damage that they can do is rewarded by atoms.
As long as you don't take down Ropsten, it gets enough hate.
We are going through this right now, so I'll share some learnings. We're launching mainnet in Q2. Pretty excited about it, but one lesson, schedule your audits early. Good auditors are jammed, okay? So we got lucky, we got them scheduled, we got 2 scheduled, and then also be ready to get a mix of, and I think Cosmos did this well with HackerOne and other bounties. We're going to be using HackerOne and Gitcoin and trying to get people to white hat hack the network, and then also set up an adversarial testnet. So these things all take time, and get your audits scheduled early, and make sure too that your timelines take into consideration the changes you need to make based off what you will learn. So.
Yeah, so on the security audit side, the layer 2 security auditing is a little bit different from normal smart contract security auditing. The first layer is always the anchoring smart contract, because layer 2 draws security from the layer 1. And there are dispute contract, settlement contract on layer 1, and those contracts need to be security audited. And then on top of that, there is the node system that, you know, although the layer 1 smart contract was supposed to be catching any layer 2 fault, we still need to have that part security audited to ensure that there's no leak of private key, remote execution, that type of issues, basically. And I also want to kind of quickly circle back on the community question you just asked early on. And for us, the community is starting to shape a little bit different from many other blockchain projects, in the sense that we start to take an approach to attract and approach communities outside of a blockchain space on both developer side and also on the user side. For the user side, we launched the Celer X gaming application. That is a skill-based real money gaming application that attracts the normal audience. In fact, 70% of our users demographics are 25 to 35-year female users, which is very different from the normal blockchain demographics you'll see. And for the developer adoption side, we focus heavily on the monetization and the sustainable revenue generation for developers by launching the Celer X gaming SDK as well. So we're approaching game developers and game studios instead of directly approaching and blockchain developers. And we want to kind of pitch the blockchain as an additional and lucrative monetization tool for these vast amount of developers outside of the circle.
Good answer. All right, I'm going to maybe throw a curveball here. There's some people who are really new to the ecosystem here, and if you are new, welcome. Aetherium welcomes you. But people will see these layer 2 solutions, and some of them have coins and some of them don't. So if you are a project that has a token that is used on your network, why do you have it? What's the point of the token for your particular instance? And I'm not sure which ones have tokens. Most of you, I think, do.
I can answer this question. I think that's something really important, probably underestimated at the moment. When, for instance, with iExec, we are building a marketplace. So the token here is used as a mean of payment and plus as a technology. Because we are using a token, we can use smart contract, and we can build a consensus protocol on top of this. So without the token, that would be much, much more difficult. And plus, we want to build it decentralized. Because in the protocol, we are stakeholders have to stake money, and if they behave wrong, the protocol will take this money and reward the participants who behave correctly, right? So if you don't have a token, you can't implement that as a decentralized thing, and then it causes all kinds of issues. And plus, the way the token is structured, it's a fixed amount of tokens for a market that should be growing. So here there are plenty of, I think, implications regarding token economics that are really important and that we, I think, don't really understand at the moment, but I think this is something important. In France, we have several economists working on that matters. They build a mathematical model for that has been published, and I think this is something really interesting.
All right.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about the Scale token. So it's entirely geared around security and pooling security. So if you think about it, the Scale token is actually an ERC-77 token, but to participate as a validator, you have to stake tokens into the network. That actually gets staked into the mainnet. To pay for a Scale chain, you actually have to pay in Scale tokens. Those get passed back through the validators. There could be 1,000 nodes at any given time, 16 are running for you, and what's happening is, because of this pooled security model and because the network's randomly pulling nodes in and rotating them that work on the application-specific blockchains or elastic sidechains, the cost of attacking one subchain is probabilistically as high as attacking the broader network because it's so hard to get collusion and bribery when you're pulling from a big group and you're randomly rotating them. So having a token is critical, and having a specific token lets the network monitor and design economics in a more specific way as opposed to writing the ebb and flow of the ETH. So,
yeah, the logic for the existence of the Chainlink token is similar to that for Scale and iExec. There's a system by which node operators are paid in the token. It's a utility token. And there's also a staking functionality that is currently in development. This helps, power this, what will eventually become an entirely self-sufficient ecosystem using this utility token.
So just like layer 1 has crypto economic problem of producing blocks and reaching consensus, layer 2 also have the corresponding blockchain economic, crypto economic problems to be solved. And that needs to be solved by a well-designed game theoretical mechanism, and it also incentivized by token. And for us, we use Celer token in State Guardian network as a decentralized watchtower service for the state channel network, and also use that as a staking token for relaying any kind of information as we will roll out more update in terms of our expansion to other layer 2 techniques to bridge the information we need from layer 2 to layer 1 as kind of an incentive and staking token there, basically.
Anybody? Yeah, go ahead, Billy.
So the only reason you ever really need a token is if you need the ability to mint new tokens, right? And we believe that proof of stake makes the most sense with a highly inflationary token. But the economic model of at least the Cosmos Hub is very much based on the idea that you shouldn't make money from the inflationary token, but rather from fees. So if you decide to secure your blockchain without proof of stake, but maybe with proof of authority, then I would say you actually should remove that token and just let people pay fees in Ether, or people can pay fees in Bitcoin, which is also what happens on Cosmos currently.
All right, great answers, everyone. We have a mic. It's hot. It's live. Come on with your questions. It's right there. Anybody have questions about anything they've heard today from these excellent panelists? Layer 2 problems, anything?
We answered all the questions.
I know. It's amazing. They're going to have to use all your products now. Oh, man. Okay, if we don't have any questions there, I'll just throw out a couple more. We have about 5-6 minutes left or so. Great.
I have a question. It applies to all of you. What do you personally think is your biggest risk? What is the biggest risk to your project?
It could be anything, any kind of risk.
I'll take a first cut. I think the biggest risk for any project, and Scale included, is just timing. So we need to get to a point where we have millions and hundreds of millions of daily active users using these systems at some point. I think we will, or at least have that type of volume in the ecosystem to support the amount of capital and investment and jobs and growth that we're all looking for. So I'm feeling incredibly confident this is coming, and I think the risk is timing as when. When is it going to happen? Is it going to happen at the end of this year? Is it going to happen next year? But I think we all see the building blocks coming together and see the leading indicators, and I think most people here are not really watching price, but timing is the biggest risk.
I think the biggest risk is losing out to centralized solutions. Most of the stuff that we're offering can be done without a blockchain, and done when you just have trusted partners from entities that are businesses that have laws that regulate them. I do think that solution creates a scenario in which technology might not be as proficient, or there might be enough friction financially between partnerships that you end up having large fees. I think that these are things that decentralized tech can really undercut, but it comes at this very high technical cost. And unless we can solve that technical cost and deliver a product which is superior to a centralized alternative, then we're all at risk of being out of a job.
I think the bigger risk for us would be to underestimate the adoption challenge. This is something we are taking very seriously at the moment. We're putting a lot of effort on that. I mean, adoption is not only a question of wallet and crypto and this kind of thing. For instance, when enterprises want to use iExec, they need an invoice. And so, a token transaction or Ethereum transaction, this is not a payment for many companies or accountant. And all these kind of things, it can take a lot of time to solve so that we can build an ecosystem which is viable for everyone and not only for people who have tokens or cryptos and that are used to this ecosystem.
Yeah, I think anybody who's in this space knows that the biggest risk is trust. We're fighting against a deeply entrenched system that currently functions just fine and has this mentality of it works because it works. And so we do need to build that better product. The value prop can't simply be the decentralization, the trustlessness. We need to make sure that it's not only going to offer everything that the space is proud of and believes in ideologically, but that it also gets the job done better. And if we can't do that, then, where are we going?
I think the biggest risk here is to find the right adoption niche. Basically, find the right market to cut in. Blockchain is a young technology. It has the advantage, but it has more, it has much higher adoption barrier comparing to all the other available technologies out there. And, we need to define what is a right adoption niche where the blockchain technology and, the corresponding project for each of us can truly shine in that particular market, in that particular business model. And some ideas around that are this market need to be with extremely high trust cost today. For example, if you're just like opening a shop today, you're paying 2.9% of Stripe fee. It's really not that much a cost in terms of trust. But on the other hand, if you're running a high-risk business, but still 100% legal and a highly adopted business, that might be actually a good niche to cut in, as blockchain significantly lowered the trust cost on that front. So that's why we kind of entered the real money gaming arena, which is a legal, highly regulated, but still traditionally with extremely high trust cost, extremely high transaction processing fees, and then offer a differentiator there by using the technology that we have. So whether we can quickly identify a bunch of these small niches, but highly sustainable and big enough to let us plant the root and grow from there. And think, if we can identify those, we can mitigate the kind of a risk overall. But if we can't, then it becomes a major risk.
So very last thing, we got about a minute left. Lightning round. 10 seconds. Remind everyone what your company is and where they can find you here, if it's a booth or a website or whatever.
Scale Network. Go to scale.network, scale with a K. Also, right at the top of the stairs, booth. If you're hacking, come talk to us. We'd love to talk to you.
Cosmos Network, cosmos.network. We're at a booth at the top of the thing in there. Come on by.
We are iExec.ec, and we're on first floor just there.
I'm with Chainlink, and we're on the second floor as well.
Celer.network, and you can find us and our cool T-shirts on second floor as well.
All right, thank you all so much. This has been an amazing panel. Let's give everyone a hand.
Thanks, Hudson.
Thank you.